All right, let's dive into some practical advice from the Bible, huh? On overcoming negativity.
Yeah, great topic.
We got two sets of verses for this deep dive,
Oh, cool.
both kind of focused on actionable strategies.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
not just, the vague, feel good stuff,
Right.
but like, okay, here's what you do if you're feeling bombarded by negative thoughts.
I like that. Practical.
Exactly. So first up is Philippians 4.8.
Okay.
It says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. It's almost like a checklist, huh?
It is. It's interesting how much that aligns with, modern psychology. Like
Right.
the idea that dwelling on positive things can actually like rewire your brain over time.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just like wishful thinking. It's
Yeah.
a practice that can, lead to a more positive outlook.
So like consciously choosing where to focus your energy
Yeah.
instead of getting sucked into that negativity vortex.
Right,
You're
exactly.
actively seeking out the good. Have you ever tried anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Mindfulness techniques are really big on that.
Yeah.
Being present in the moment, choosing what you focus on. But I think this verse takes it even a step further.
How so?
It's not just about noticing things, it's about like seeking out those positive elements.
Yeah, that's true. More proactive.
Right.
Okay, now let's look at Isaiah 26.3. It says, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. What do you think about this one?
I love this one because it brings up this whole idea of what does it mean to have a steadfast mind?
Hmm.
Is it about like unwavering faith? Is it about self-belief?
Right.
Or even like trusting in something bigger than yourself, like a sense of purpose, maybe?
That's a great question. I mean, it could be all of those things, couldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think that holds up in our modern world?
That's where it gets really interesting, right? I mean, we're bombarded with information, opinions, anxieties. It's almost like our minds are being pulled in a million directions at once.
A million different directions, yeah.
So to be steadfast, I think it takes more conscious effort these days.
More effort than, say, ancient Israel.
Exactly. Yeah.
You almost have to practice it,
It's a practice, yeah. Grounding yourself in something you truly trust.
whether that's faith or family or even just nature or something.
Right. Finding that source of stability amidst the chaos.
Okay, this next topic is fascinating to me. It's the link between our emotional state and our physical well-being.
Oh, yeah.
Proverbs 17.22 says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. And then Proverbs 15.13 adds, a happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit.
It's almost like they knew about the mind-body connection way back then.
I know, right?
Long before modern medicine started, doing all the research on stress and its effects. But there it is, right there in those verses.
And they're not just saying avoid the bad stuff. It's like you got to cultivate the positive emotions.
Right, right. It's not just the absence of negativity, it's the presence of positive emotion.
Like a cheerful heart being good medicine.
It's like a prescription for well-being.
So we've seen how powerful thoughts can be, how they can like shape our reality
Absolutely.
and even impact our health.
Yeah.
But knowing that's one thing, what concrete advice do we get from these verses on how to actually combat negativity when you're feeling it?
Well, I think 1 Peter 5.7 is really powerful. It tells us to cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you.
So instead of letting anxieties weigh you down,
Right.
you're actively handing them over,
To something larger.
acknowledging you don't have to carry them alone.
Right. There's a power greater than ourselves that we can tap into.
Then there's Romans 12.2, which says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Man, that one feels so relevant today.
Totally does.
All the negativity we're bombarded with constantly.
Right. It's like a constant pressure to conform.
But this verse is saying, don't let the world dictate your thoughts. You have the power to choose something different.
It's about taking ownership. Right.
Yeah, of your mindset.
Your inner world, even if the outer world is chaotic.
That's empowering, isn't it?
It is. And it starts with that renewing of the mind.
Yeah.
Recognizing that you can challenge those negative patterns and
Yeah.
replace them with constructive ones.
Like hitting the reset button on your mental software.
Exactly.
But how do you actually do that? What are some like practical steps to renew your mind?
Well, several verses talk about, controlling our reactions, our emotions.
Okay.
Like Ephesians 4.31 says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. It's about recognizing those negative emotions and
Totally.
choosing not to be controlled by them.
Not suppressing them, but like choosing a different response.
Exactly.
That classic advice, take a deep breath before you react.
Right. Give yourself that space
Yeah.
to observe those emotions and then choose something more constructive.
Doesn't always come naturally, though, does it?
No, it takes practice. But like any skill, the more you practice.
The better you get.
Right.
Then there's James 1.19, which says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry."
That's a good one for avoiding unnecessary conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we react so impulsively, you know?
Out of anger, frustration,
Right. But if we just slow down, listen more,
take a moment to consider the other person's perspective.
it can make such a difference.
Huge difference. Like that thing about hitting the pause button before sending an angry email.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you time to, like, cool off.
Yeah, respond from a more balanced place.
So we're not just talking about eliminating negativity, but, like, actively cultivating positive quality.
Exact.
That takes conscious effort.
It does. But the good news is we have the power to choose.
That's true.
We can choose to focus on the good, practice gratitude,
Right.
and respond to those challenges with grace, with resilience.
It's like we're being given a whole toolbox,
That's so true.
for building a better life.
And the more we use those tools,
Like,
the better we get at creating the life we want.
okay, so we talked about controlling our reactions and emotions.
Yeah.
But what about those thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the negative self-talk, the worries
That inner critic.
that can really drag you down.
That's where the idea of taking your thoughts captive comes in.
Mm-hmm.
2 Corinthians 10.5 says, "We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." It's a powerful image.
It is. It's like we're at war with those negative thoughts.
Right.
But how do you take them captive? Is it like suppressing them, ignoring them?
Not necessarily. It's more about recognizing them,
Right.
questioning them,
Yeah.
and then choosing to replace them with something more positive, something more constructive.
So you're not pretending those thoughts don't exist,
No.
but you're making a conscious choice to focus on something else.
Right. Shifting your attention
Okay.
from what's wrong to what's right, from what you lack to what you have,
Love that.
from fear to love.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like training your mind to look for the good instead of just zeroing in on the bad automatically.
It is like choosing to focus on the flowers instead of the weeds
Oh, I like that.
in the garden of your mind.
Okay, so taking our thoughts captive.
Mm-hmm.
But what about those worries about the future? You know, the what if thinking.
Oh, yeah.
That can really keep you up at night.
That's a tough one. But Matthew 6.34 has some good advice. "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own."
It's like it's saying, hey, focus on today, deal with what's right in front of you.
Right. Don't borrow trouble from tomorrow.
It's so easy to get caught up in those what if scenarios. It is. But you're right, worrying about things you can't control
Yeah.
just amplifies the negativity.
And robs you of the joy you could be having right now.
It's like that saying, worrying is like paying interest on a debt you may never owe.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
So true.
We waste so much energy worrying about stuff that might not even happen.
And in the process, miss out on the good stuff happening right now.
It's like trading peace for anxiety.
Not a good deal.
Not at all.
So choosing to be present,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
That's where you experience joy, connection, gratitude. That's where life unfolds.
Okay, we've covered a lot.
We have?
But before we end this part of our dive, I'm curious, from all this, what's one piece of advice you'd give for cultivating a more positive mindset?
I'd say start small.
Small.
Yeah, don't try to overhaul your entire mindset overnight.
Right.
Pick one small thing you can do each day
It's okay.
to cultivate a little more positivity, express gratitude, practice a little mindfulness, do something kind for somebody.
It's like building a muscle. Right.
Exactly.
You don't start with the heaviest weight.
You start small, gradually increase the challenge.
And the more you practice, the stronger that positivity muscle gets.
Right. And the beautiful thing is, those small changes can have a ripple effect.
Oh, yeah.
More positivity in your life.
It spreads,
What radiates outwards, impacting those around you.
creating a more positive world.
Exactly.
I like that. Well, I think that's a good place to pause for now.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But there's still more to explore.
Oh, definitely. We've just scratched the surface. It's true. We really did cover a lot in that last section.
Yeah, some powerful stuff in those verses.
Really is. What stood out to you the most so far? Anything in particular?
You know that line about steadfast minds from Isaiah?
Yeah.
Keeps coming back to me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like, what does that even mean for people today? It's
Huh?
not ancient Israel anymore.
Right, exactly. Maybe back then, being steadfast was simpler.
Yeah.
But now, we've got like a million things pulling at our attention, our trust.
Just the news cycle alone can make you feel like the world's ending daily.
Tell me about it. And social media, forget it.
It's like a negativity amplifier sometimes, seriously.
So, how do you cultivate that steadfastness when there's so much noise?
It's a good question. Maybe it's about like finding your own personal true north,
But I like that.
something that grounds you that you can always come back to.
Could be faith, family, a connection to nature, whatever works.
Yeah, like a mental compass, right?
to help you navigate through the tough times.
And speaking of navigating tough times, Isaiah 40.31 really resonated with me. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
Such vivid imagery.
Yeah. Soaring above the challenges, drawing on something bigger than yourself.
Doesn't even have to be religious. Could be hope in humanity, science, anything that gives you that lift.
As long as it gives you that strength to keep going. And Jeremiah 29.1, that's another hopeful one. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
That one always reminds me that even when we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, there's still a plan unfolding.
Yeah.
A purpose to our journey. It doesn't have to be blind faith, but a trust that something bigger is at play.
That can be so comforting when you're struggling, right?
Absolutely. Like knowing you're not just wandering aimlessly.
That there's a destination.
A purpose, even if the path is, a little messy.
We've talked a lot about facing challenges head on, but what about when the negativity comes from, like, fear? What do these verses say about that?
I think 1 John 4.18 really gets at that. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love.
Wow.
It's saying fear and love, they can't really coexist.
So if fear is at the root of your negativity,
Maybe the answer is to cultivate more love.
but what kind of love? Like romantic love, family?
I think it's bigger than that. Love for humanity, nature, even yourself. It's about opening your heart to something larger.
Letting that love fill those spaces where fear used to be.
Right. It's like love is the light that drives out the darkness.
The more you cultivate that love.
The less room there is for negativity to take hold.
Now, speaking of powerful forces, 2 Corinthians 10.5 talks about the power of our own imagined minds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. That's a pretty strong statement.
It is. It's like we have way more control over our thoughts than we realize sometimes.
Yeah, it's not letting them run wild, it's taking charge.
It's like you're the conductor of your mental orchestra.
Ooh, I like that.
You choose which instruments play, which melodies get created. You're not just at the mercy of whatever random notes pop up.
And that connects to what Matthew 6.34 was saying too, right? About not worrying about tomorrow.
Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Right. We can choose not to let those worries take over.
It's recognizing you have the power to choose what you focus on. The past, the future, or the present moment.
And sometimes just choosing to be present.
That's the most powerful move.
Because you're not giving those negative thoughts space to grow.
There's that saying, worrying is like a rocking chair. Gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere.
Uh-huh. So true. But being present, that's where the good stuff happens.
Joy, connection, gratitude.
Where life actually unfolds.
Where you find the strength to face the challenges, to overcome stuff, to grow.
Speaking of meaning, Romans 8.28 talks about finding purpose, right? And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. It's not just about feeling good. It's knowing your life has meaning.
Even when things are rough.
Yeah, like you're part of a bigger story, a grand design.
Maybe you don't fully get it, but it's working towards your good.
That's a powerful message.
It really is. It resonates with people no matter what their beliefs are.
It's that human desire to belong, to know your life has a purpose.
And that can be so grounding when you're feeling lost or unsure.
And Psalm 34.1, it talks about finding meaning even when things are tough. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. It's choosing gratitude even amidst the hard stuff,
Finding those little glimmers of hope, of beauty.
even in the darkness, right?
Exactly. Not denying the difficulties, but choosing to focus on what is good, what you do have to be thankful for.
Like that saying, gratitude turns what you have into enough.
It's true. The more you practice it,
Yeah.
the more you start to notice those little blessings, the everyday stuff that makes life worth living.
It's like training your mind to look for the good instead of the bad.
And that's such a powerful antidote to negativity, isn't it? Hard to stay stuck in that spiral when you're focusing on what you're grateful for.
It shifts your whole perspective.
Opens your heart.
Okay, so we're talking about meaning, gratitude. But what about actually cultivating those positive qualities? Like, what specific guidance do these verses give us?
Galatians 5.22-23 lays out a whole bunch of virtues. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law.
It's like a recipe for a good life.
It really is.
And it's not just about being good, it's about qualities that benefit you too.
Oh, yeah.
Like self-control helps you resist those impulses that can lead to negativity in the first place.
Right, and then those qualities, they ripple out to others too.
That's contagious.
Kindness, for example, it inspires more kindness.
A chain reaction of positivity.
Exactly.
And then Proverbs 18.21 adds, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." So our words have power, and choosing positive ones matters.
Oh, it's huge.
Oh.
That verse always reminds me, we're not just passively receiving language, we're creating it.
Right.
The words we choose, they either uplift or they tear down.
With ourselves and the people around us.
It's like, what are you watering in the garden of your relationships? The flowers or the weeds?
Okay, so much good stuff here. Is there one verse that really stands out to you as like super relevant for people today out of all of these?
Tough to pick just one.
I know, right?
But honestly, I keep thinking about renewing our minds from Romans 12.2.
That is a powerful one.
Especially today, with all the info overload, the constant stimulation. It's that reminder you do have the power to choose what you focus on.
Build a better inner world.
Create a better life for yourself.
It's a call to action, isn't it?
It is.
We're not just victims of our circumstances or our thoughts. We can choose to change, to grow.
And it's a journey, not a destination. Those little choices we make every day,
They add up.
they create that shift in how you see things, how you experience life.
And that's empowering, right? It's not denying that negativity exists or pretending everything's perfect,
No.
but it's knowing you have the strength inside you to navigate those tough times.
And come out stronger on the other side.
And remembering you're not alone in that.
Right. You've got other people, your faith, a whole
Yeah.
universe of resources to tap into.
And the wisdom of these verses.
Timeless wisdom.
Guidance for today's world, even though they were written so long ago.
It's amazing how relevant they still are.
Okay, as we wrap up this part of our dive, here's something for our listener to think about. What's one tiny change you could make today to start building a more positive mindset? Maybe just for today, try focusing on the good stuff.
No matter how small.
It's those small choices that add up, right?
To a richer, more fulfilling life.
It really is amazing how those ancient teachings can still apply to us today.
Isn't it? Sometimes the simplest advice is the most powerful.
Like just noticing the good things, you know? Even when things are tough, I forget to do that sometimes.
It's easy to get caught up in the everyday chaos and lose sight of what really matters.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
About how our words have power, choosing to speak positively.
Oh, yeah. Proverbs 18.21. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit.
That imagery is so strong.
It really makes you think about the impact, right? Not just on others, but on ourselves, too.
What we say shapes our reality. If you're always negative, that's going to affect how you see the world.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
It's true. Our words become self-fulfilling prophecies.
So to cultivate positivity, we got to be mindful of our language.
Choose words that uplift, that encourage.
And catch yourself when you start to slip into that negative self-talk.
Turn those I can't statements into I can.
Exactly. Shift your language, shift your mindset.
And that can spread, right, to the people around you too.
Absolutely. Like planting seeds of kindness, of positivity.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Anything else you'd like to leave our listener with? Any final thoughts?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. We have a choice.
We do.
We're not just puppets of our circumstances or our feelings.
We're not powerless.
We have the power to choose how we respond.
To choose to cultivate positivity, to create a better life for ourselves and everyone around us.
That's the key.
And it's not always easy.
No, there will be hard times when negativity creeps in.
Challenges that feel impossible.
But you have the tools to overcome them.
The tools are within us.
It's tapping into your strength, your resilience, your wisdom.
And remembering, you're not alone in this.
You've got people who care about you. You've got these ancient teachings to guide you.
A whole universe of possibilities.
Beautifully said.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into overcoming negativity. It's been an amazing journey exploring these verses with you and with you, our listener.
I always feel so inspired after a deep dive like this.
Me too. It's like a reminder that there's so much wisdom out there just waiting to be discovered.
And the more we seek it out, the more we can face life's challenges with that courage, that grace, and that positive outlook. So until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep shining your light.
Beautifully said. And to our listener, remember, you are capable of amazing things. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.